Welcome to 100x Mindset, and today we have episode 3 with Brian, the co-founder, as usual.
Hello, everyone.
Today, guys, we're going to run through the last set of rules in the book, which will be the foundation of 100x Mindset. Yeah, we've gone through all the chapters as explained before. We are not going deep into the book. We're simply covering the highlights of each rule of the book. There's 14 rules. These rules are applied by most successful people, whether they know it or not, whether they do it subconsciously or consciously. All we are doing is trying to lay a set of rules out for you to adopt and to have your own take on things. Today we're going to cover rule 11, 12, 13 and 14. Chapter 11, give more than you take. It is about adding value, yeah? It's about adding value to people, to giving a little bit back, rather than just trying to take out of relationships. If we can add value, like we're doing with 100x mindset, yeah, this is why it's so pure 100x mindset, because we are giving a hell of a lot more than what we're trying to receive, what we're trying to take. Yeah,
Exactly.
it is all about giving,
Yeah.
and we know that there's going to be benefits in the future. We know that because when we build up the community, essentially, but we're doing it for the right reasons.
Well, I think I see it on a day-to-day basis, even in work with my staff. Now, I know they get salaries, they all get paid, but what can I give them which isn't of money? We all spend money and it's gone. We use money. It doesn't last forever. Even if we accumulate enough money, we'll be dead and someone else will spend it for us if we haven't spent it ourselves. What can we give to people that are which is given more than that? And I think that's knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're given knowledge which that'll last a lifetime.
Yeah.
That can never be spent. Once you instill values in something in a person and they use it in the right way, that can never disappear. It's more valuable. It's a tool.
It's like the saying, isn't it? Give a person a fish and feed them for a day. Teach them how to fish and feed them for a lifetime.
Exactly.
And I think it's very, very important to try and try and enrich others and try and help others. Taking everything we can out of relationships, maybe that's short term, short lived.
Yeah.
It's not long term and it's not longevity. It's got no purpose long term.
There's a sense of fulfillment in that as well. Given more than what you take, it's got purpose to it.
I mean, when you think about it, by giving wholeheartedly and its purest form, it will come back to you in leaps and bounds anyway. I've felt that in life.
Yeah.
I've helped a lot of people. When I was younger, in all honesty, it was all about me, because when you've got nothing, it's very hard to see past trying to help another person.
Yeah.
It's dog eat dog. Yeah, you've got to be a wolf, you've got to be a lion. Essentially, you still have to be. But when you get to a certain point, you realise that it's better just to help people out. Look, there's been many years ago, I every connection that I made with someone when I was trying to scramble up the ladder, I was brokering deals and I always wanted a cut. That was basically for everything years ago when I was younger, 20s, even 30s. The last 5-6 years, I've got such a big network. I've helped that many people.
Yeah.
And I've just introduced them and never asked for anything back. But my life has gone up tenfold. And I believe that it is, again, going back to the universe. I'm helping people out. I'm not expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
And, now and again, you see people taking liberties and stuff like that, and you can eradicate them out
I
your
think in
life.
certain ways, if it's on a business level, there's a certain transaction which is expected, isn't it?
Yeah.
Naturally, if
Yeah.
there is give and take on that level, but I think there's more to it. This goes further past those boundaries when But I'm giving my staff knowledge to empower them.
Yeah.
I'm giving them things which they can take on, tools which they can take on further in life, whether it's me or without me.
Yeah.
But I've got a sense of sort of fulfillment because of that, because I know I'm empowering them for the future.
For human beings,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's also serves two purposes. By empowering them with knowledge and trying to better them, it comes back because they'd also feel a self of empowerment
Yeah.
in the workplace.
You know, going down to the basics, with my driver, I tried to get him, I'm trying to get him so much to try and focus on doing like, drop shipping or something like that in the spare time.
Yeah.
And I've said to him, I got him, some exercise equipment and whatever, trying to help him with the motivation to level up. And I said to him, there'd be nothing better if you said to me in 6 months or a year, look, I made some money, I want to do this. I like to see people getting on.
Yeah.
And, that all comes down to, as I say, maybe it's age, because when I was younger, it was dog eat dog in my mind, yeah? There was no room to help others apart from family.
Yeah.
And obviously with time maybe, and the relief of not have to worry about paying the bill at the end of the month,
Exactly.
maybe that's allowed me to have a bit more clarity on it. Chapter 12, guys. So eliminate what holds you back. Yeah, this is a big one for me. We have covered it briefly, but you've got to really get down to the basics, the real, it's only you that can really find this out. Yeah, no one else can point it out for you. You've got to really assess, deeply in your mind. You've got to spend some time with yourself alone. You've got to reflect, and you've got to think, what is holding me back? Yeah. If you've got shitty people around you, you've got people that are not good for your progression, that are not really pushing you forward and actually criticizing you and putting you down or whatever. Only you know who they are or what is holding you back. Essentially, you have to eliminate, in order to grow, things, people, processes that are holding you back.
I think a lot of people also, eliminate what's holding you back. A lot of people get overwhelmed with they feel like they're not doing enough, or they're doing too little, and it becomes overwhelming. I should be doing this or I should be doing that. When really they have to just take a step back and think, maybe I'm just carrying too much.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just carrying too much dead weight that I don't need,
Yeah.
or irrelevant, or, as you just said, toxic. It could be your surroundings, the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
You need to start. It also means eliminate what's holding you back. It could be that dead weight. It could be that toxic environment.
Well, the biggest thing that for me was alcohol.
Yeah.
That was, that is the biggest thing for me. And I do talk about this a lot on this show because it's so important to me. And me and you have had this conversation. I don't want to be someone after 30 years of drinking on a regular basis to suddenly be all righteous and say, oh, you've got to pick sobriety and you've got to do this. But it was the best choice in my life.
Yeah.
And that was holding me back. And going back to, I've said this many times, to achieve the success that I have, spending half of my life hungover or like essentially tipsy with drinking, it's, imagine what can be done with 100% clarity on a daily basis.
Exactly. I think when I look back, a lot of the points in my life, in terms of being held back, I was holding myself back because I was also saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
To nights out, to basically going out with your mates.
Yeah.
Obviously, drinking too much, just agreeing with that. But it could even be work.
Yeah.
Just agreeing to do everything, just being kind of like a yes man.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on what matters to me or family or my own ambitions and goals.
Yeah.
Because it gets put aside.
Yeah.
You lose track.
It does. And when you look at it, you look, it's not just about the drink, it's about a lot of the time the company you keep, with drinking and whatever. And it gets to the point that anyone that's willing to have a drink with you is basically, a friend. And a lot of these are false friends. Not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them are. And then when you cut out that, then you find out who the real people are in your life.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's a big factor. I mean, anyone that's in the Western world, anyone that, in the UK, US, whatever, Europe, they'll understand, especially, you know, in the UK, especially where we were brought up. It was completely normal growing up. Everything involved, you know, you're seeing drink round you constantly.
Yeah.
Everyone was going to pub. There was a pub on every corner when I was growing up.
Yeah.
You know, and every christening, every funeral, every wedding, everything.
Yeah.
You know, let's go to our aunties on a Sunday.
Yeah.
The first thing that you see your parents and uncles and whatever with a drink in hand.
Yeah.
It was just completely socially accepted. In fact,
And that's it. If you said no,
you
it'd be
looked
like,
almost
you're
like,
what's up with
well,
him?
what, are you sick?
Is he under the thumb or something?
Yeah, so it was like, and it was exactly that.
Yeah.
So growing up, I mean, not very often did I say I didn't want to drink, to be honest with you. I was always the one that was up for it. But, you know, if someone said, you know, I'm not drinking tonight,
Yeah.
everyone would be like, is he okay? Is there something wrong?
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
I don't think I ever said it once.
I don't think I did. And that's why I'm so happy
But
being
the
so...
thing is, I think it comes with age as well. Obviously, you slow down and your focus changes, but you looking back, you realise that they were the things that was holding you back. There's a lot more potential we didn't realise that
Yeah.
we could have done so much more when we were younger if we had the mindset we have now.
I think you know, we could tell our younger self. I'd probably tell my younger self a couple of things. One of them would be not to drink.
Yeah.
The other thing would be to buy Bitcoin in 2009.
I think we've all said
So
that,
there's
haven't
them couple of things. But you know, being open and honest, you know, it's a miracle that we've got to this point. And going back to what I said before, it's not like, you know, my perception of people, you know, people who are drinking too much and alcoholics, or people who wake up in the morning drinking. I never, you know, apart from flying somewhere, you know, at the airport and drinking whatever time it was before I got onto a flight, I'd never wake up obviously in the morning and think I need a drink.
Yeah.
But then, you know, a lot of afternoons, it was perfectly acceptable to go for a game of golf and then go to the 19th hole afterwards, literally the bar, and have a few drinks which spilled into a few more drinks and whatever it may be. And a complete normal. Exactly. It was complete normal.
Doesn't matter, does it? I've played golf at 7 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning, and straight on the beers.
Straight on the beers.
Especially here.
Yeah.
It's not a thing in the UK when you play golf there, but
I
here,
don't know. Listen,
if you haven't got a can in your hand.
but listen, the thing is, the UAE has got a big, obviously the Westerners with the brunches and whatever like that, but it's also a Muslim country, so it's got to be sober. It's a perfect place. There's so much to do here.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't involve going out with, you know, and drinking. And so I'm finding all that now, and I'm finding peace in that. But yeah, so that, talking about what holds you back, whatever holds you back, eliminate it. If you're sitting there throughout the day and you're eating burgers all day and you're feeling sluggish, eliminate it.
Exactly.
You know, if you're feeling like, you know, there's no excuse for not going to the gym or keeping fit. There's no excuse for not getting, you know, your 10,000 steps in as a minimum per day. There's no excuse to waking up. And I've heard excuses, oh, people might not have the money to get a gym membership or whatever like that. Well, go for a walk, go for a run, do some press-ups.
Exactly.
You know, I got, as I say, I got my driver, one of these things, I think it was $10 off Amazon, and it done all the shoulders, back, biceps and everything. And it was for press-ups, but in different areas. Then these resistance bands for $15, $30, he's got a whole gym.
I think that's it, isn't it? You go, especially when it comes to like your mental health, just physical exercise.
Yeah.
It's huge, isn't it?
It's huge.
Massive.
Well,
Makes you
look
just
where we
feel
came from,
10
hunters and
times
gatherers.
better.
We came from hunters, you know, the humans came from hunters. We went to hunt, and, you know, we're not built to be sitting around all day doing nothing with these dopamine hits. And going back to eliminate what's holding us back, you know, it's ironic because we're actually pushing our socials, but essentially a lot of social media and this doom scrolling, it's horrendous. You know, people will sit there, and I've spoke to many people and said, you know, I know in the spare time they're sitting there and they're doing these 15-second shorts, and it's just mind-numbing. I've done it myself.
And it can go on for hours, can't it?
It go on for hours, mate.
I think we're all culprits of it. Well, I know, speaking for myself, I know I am. There was times that I look back and I'd wake up, it could be 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, And the first thing I do is pick up my phone.
Start looking through
I
TikTok.
consciously had to stop myself doing it.
Yeah,
I don't do it no more.
yeah,
If there's messages come through, fine, I'll respond to the messages,
yeah.
but I don't touch social media or anything
Just for the first time. Yeah,
until, you know, I've reached a point where I've planned my day, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going, I've had my coffee, I'm either going to go to the gym, but it's mad because you can be on it or you can look at it and then 2 hours have passed.
do you know what? Also, I mean, talking about the majority of the world, the conditioned. It's like going. It's like we're going off track a little bit, but I think it's important. You know, in schools they don't teach you how to make money essentially. Yeah, we're sort of conditioned in schools to like get a job, work, pay our taxes, and go on this holiday and get married and have kids and whatever. And see, the world can't cope with everyone being an entrepreneur. Yeah, they have to have the masses, doom scrolling of a night, watching Netflix, watching reality TV, going to work nine to five, putting the money away every single month for that holiday to Spain or whatever it is. And the masses, the majority has to do that in order to keep the world going.
Yeah.
So this is, I'm not going to use like certain people use, the Matrix and stuff like that. But essentially, I agree with certain points that the world is conditioned to make sure that the 99%, and they're sitting there just having mundane lives.
You look at it and even down to when we were children, we started getting that conditioned from an early age, going to school 9 till 4 o'clock or whatever it was, quarter to 9 till quarter to 4.
Singing hymns and
Every single day as a child from the age of 5. I know whatever they're doing in that school for 8 hours or 7 hours, I know I can teach my child a lot more or give them a lot more world information, because what do we come out of school knowing? Is it the social aspect? I love that. You grow up with other kids and you learn how to play, you're learning how to read cues.
But at what point do they teach you how to manage money or investments? They don't. It is, I'm going to be honest, compared to the school that I went to in Liverpool, right, was probably one of the worst schools in the world. The one, especially my junior school, yeah. My junior school was like, it was fucking horrible, but it was right by my grandparents' house. So I went there and it was horrendous. But, the only thing I really remember is singing Come By Army Lord and having the priest run after me with a ruler. But
Who, the priest or the police?
No, the priest.
Oh, did you get taught by priests?
Priests and
nuns.
Whatever, nuns and whatever, because it was a Catholic school. But the school that the kids go to is night and day. I mean, my sons go to school and they're being enriched. They're doing code and they're doing AI.
Yeah, I think that's the difference in
It's the location.
I can't say I didn't enjoy school. I enjoyed it. I got great memories of school growing up, primary school and senior school. But when I look back at it, I look at it, especially in today's day and age, I just don't think the way technology is, with the way AI is and everything else, all these kids getting degrees and different things, those jobs are going to become obsolete soon, because AI is moving that advanced, that advanced and moving that quickly, that what the kids are studying today will become irrelevant in the next 10 years.
Can you imagine actually starting uni now, in a certain field, knowing that you've got 8 years and knowing that AI is going to probably replace you, and that's why my kids are at a great age, because one of my children especially, he's really focused on AI and AI learning. He's only 8 years of age, and he's doing coding already. I mean, the thing is, all these people that learn Python and different coding, you can do that all now with AI. There's so much. So if you can harness the power of AI, you're going to excel in the future. There's going to be a lot of jobs. I mean, let's look at, again, we're going off topic, but I think it's important. Let's look at the Industrial Revolution. Let's look at different areas in mankind when they've said, oh, people won't have jobs because, robots are going to come into place. the factories were changed years ago to a lot of automation, but there was still people that was needed.
Yeah,
And it's going to be the same with AI.
but it happened, didn't it? It's not though it's not true.
There's
And I
still
think
jobs.
yeah, there's still jobs out there. It's just it's diversified so much into like what jobs are available, and it's based on the advancements of technology. They'll still always need the human species to do stuff, but to what degree isn't the same as what people are studying for now. There's, it's not necessary. I was late going to university. I was, I think, 25 or 26 when I started uni in Liverpool in John Moores, and that was for building surveying.
Yeah.
It's still a useful tool now because I'm not sure there is much machinery can, visually assess a building or set out there is setting out tools. There is tools that are in use, but I don't know. I've been out of the construction field for the last 15 years.
Yeah, but you're
16
still a
years,
doctor.
so
You're still a look for me as well. I didn't gain what I needed within my school in Liverpool, and I took further education when I got older in my 20s to do the financial qualifications, and I'd done quite a bit of it over in Zurich, in Switzerland, and whatever. So it's about, I think, when you become more mature. I didn't have the same opportunities as my kids do now, and it's the same for you.
But the thing is, you probably wouldn't have, even if you could went to uni. I know personally speaking, if I was offered to go to university at the age when people usually go, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
Probably wouldn't, because my mind wasn't there.
am I?
My mind was working for myself and doing things and starting businesses and whatever I could do at the time.
Yeah,
And again, things fell through. Businesses didn't work. I used to have a bathroom shop that got closed down.
you
And
never give up.
and that's when I thought, okay, I'll go to university. I'll apply myself in a different way.
I think there wasn't a lot of choices when we were younger, but we tried to make them, and we tried a million things in order to try and break out of that mold that we were given and the set of cards that we were handed in life. We tried our best, with failure, success, failure, success, etc. So going back to eliminate what holds you back. We're not, I'm definitely not a marriage counsellor, but if you're in a toxic relationship and that's holding you back, then you need to assess that. If you're eating too much fast food and that's making you sluggish in your mind and making you ill, you need to eliminate that.
I think it's just that you just got to stop, haven't you? And it's not always about adding more. Sometimes you just got to cut back.
You've got to cut back.
You got to look at your life and say, do I need this in my life?
Is this holding me back?
Is it benefiting?
Yeah, and there's only, you can only ask yourself, and that takes reflection. A lot of people, they don't even know what their own mind sounds like. I know that might sound crazy, but, sometimes you've got to sit with yourself. Yeah. A lot of people keep themselves so, like, let's say, occupied with dopamine hits. They've got work, mundane, doom scroll on social media, and then they keep themselves so numb, they don't have time to actually sit there and go, okay, let's have a little breather, quiet room, no music, no TV, no social media. Let's have 10 minutes and just think.
Where am I going?
Where am I going?
Yeah.
Most people don't give themselves a chance.
No.
They don't. And a lot of people that I know, they work, they doom scroll, and then they'll have a few drinks of a night to wind down. They'll wake up and do it all over again. Yeah. Where in that is reflection of their own life.
Exactly, yeah. I think mental health's a huge one, and I think we just have to take time and cut back and self-reflect. Yeah. What are we adding more stress to ourselves? What do we need to cut out of our lives to make our life?
Life goes fast, mate. When I was a kid, I remember them Christmases took years to come round. Yeah. It seemed like, a life from Christmas to Christmas, because that was what I gauged it on. Yeah. And then now it's like you blink and then another year's gone. And then I look at the person in the mirror and go, oof, where did them wrinkles come from?
It's unbelievable, isn't it? We're halfway there, and it felt it was just a blink of an eye.
Well, I think we're more than halfway. I think, now cutting out ale, drink, I think potentially I might be, I might 60% in.
I think I
was probably 90% in the way I was going on.
Sometimes you numb yourself that much that you don't realise time's going that quick. But I think if you're awake and you're experiencing it.
Yeah, I've just dribbled down me. I've got a hole in my lip. Chapter 13 in the book, Live with a Warrior Spirit. Now, what does this mean? How do we interpret this? How we feel about this, how you feel about this. Everyone's gonna, once they read the book, they will have a certain understanding and they'll adopt their own sort of ideas around it. But for me, it's about being a lion and, you know, yeah, looking after people, but being ferocious, waking up every single day and pushing forward, regardless of the crap that life throws at you, and it throws it at everyone.
That's it.
You know, if you look at every front door here, UK, America, Thailand, Hong Kong, wherever, Spain, behind every front door, every house, you've got illness, you've got mental health issues, you've got, you know, drink problems or whatever it may be. You've got issues behind people. You know, an auntie might be dying of cancer, grandparent, parent, you know, people suffering from mental health, depression, anxiety. Everyone's going through their own shit, right? But the thing is, we can either cave in and think, oh, you know, the world's against me, you know, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Or, as I choose to do, and I know you do, is wake up and go, what today? What can I do today? What can I do today to enhance things and what's going to come at me? And be prepared for the shit to be thrown at you and just deflect it and ride through it.
Well, that's it. I think even it's just about showing grit, isn't it? When you feel like everything's falling apart,
Yeah.
it's about just having the courage to carry on. It's like, as the title is, being a warrior doesn't mean you have to go fighting people. It's about it's the battle within yourself.
Yeah.
It's to battle those excuses that you put in front of yourself every day to avoid doing what you could be doing. I remember, like, going back to COVID, when it felt like my business was failing, all my businesses got shut down. There's 80 staff had to basically go home, stay home for 3 months, and it was just a worrying time when you feel, again, going back to when you feel like everything's falling apart. It's like, how am I gonna cover the bills? How am I gonna? Everyone's still got to be paid. A lot of my staff send money home to feed their families.
Yeah.
And it's that, like, warrior, as you say, mindset, which kicks in, or fight or flight mode.
Fight or flight, exactly.
It's like, what can we do? We had to do something. At the time, we just opened one of our last venues, Easy Tiger, and we wasn't signed up to any third party delivery, so we didn't have any income, or we didn't have any income, but we had a lot of outgoings. There was 80 staff that we had to still pay a salary every single month.
Yeah.
So what, me and Chris, we had a pork license, so me and Chris decided to go and deliver breakfasts, and you know, we were delivering breakfasts to people, and we not long opened, we were knocking on people's doors, and they were like, they thought we'd cooked it in our house. Do you know what I mean? It was like, where are you from? He's like, oh, it's from Easy Tiger. They'd have ordered it because it went pretty viral
But
online.
it's not used. They're not used to also seeing, especially over in this country, like two English dads rocking up with the delivery. But you were doing what you could in order to sustain the business.
Exactly. And that's what it comes back to. It's like, there's no choice.
No.
You've got to carry on. You've got to make this work. And
Well, there is a choice. There's either give up. There's give up.
well, that's one way of looking at it. But for us, there was no choice. There was no
Exactly.
option. We've got to make this work. We've got to do something. And that was probably the only vocations that you could do, was delivering food. It was part of that, you know, certain things you could do and you couldn't do. And going to work wasn't one of them. But delivering food was.
Yeah.
So obviously we tapped into that, and it worked out well. It worked out very well, because we got to know people, we got to know a lot of customers, we got a lot of repeat orders, and when we did open our doors, we saw those faces. They were the first to come and support us.
Yeah, and it is about fight or flight. And you know, the reason that you carried on is because you've got that 100x mindset, excuse the pun, but you have. And that's the difference between success and failure. It's having the ability to push through the crap every day that everyone gets thrown at, but some people can't take it and they go under. You know, it's like today when I seen you and I said, how's things? And you, oh, I've had a tough day with, certain things with the contractors and whatever. And, I'd had a tough day as yourself, you knew, at one of my properties in Dubai.
Yeah.
So it was like, but at the same time, we just crack on.
Yeah, I think that's
We
it.
just deal with it. We don't cave in and go, oh, pity me, woeful me.
There's we're all different. Everyone's different, and I think people look at things in different ways. People feel pressure in different ways. What we might just brush off and isn't a big issue to us might be the end of the world to someone else.
Yeah.
But you can still adopt a certain mindset, which, even if it is the end of the world, how am I going to deal with this? And I say to someone else, they think, oh, I don't give a shit. But, it's how you apply yourself. You can reduce that level of stress by just focusing, just by pushing forward, by making things happen. You can't just sit back and fold.
But a lot of people do, and that's where the 99% come in. And a lot of the 99%, unfortunately, are not that way inclined where they can push through situations. And that's why they will settle for a mediocre or sub-mediocre life, because they haven't got the armor or the ability to fight through. And I don't think that's being given to us in life. I think it's forged over time.
Yeah.
And with a lot of things thrown at us, and our armor strengthened over time.
Yeah,
Going back,
nobody's born this way, are they? I
no,
think it
you're the product of your own environment.
exactly. Nobody's born with the mindset to just be a warrior or nothing's gonna get me down. It's the small changes we make in our lives when no one's watching. That's what instills the person we become.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people, and what 100x mindset is obviously really focused on is helping the people that want to break through that. There's a lot of people out there that will be watching and think, I want to find the courage, I want to find the path, I want to find the ability to break the mold and to change the way I think. One of the biggest things that does hold people back, and I've been a victim of it myself, is worrying over things that you can't control. Yeah. And literally dwelling on things in the past which I had no control over. So what's the point in worrying about it? Yeah. And this is where the warrior mindset comes in, and you've got to say to yourself, can I control the situation?
Yeah.
And if you can't control the situation, why are you worrying about the situation? Yeah. And also, let's say, for instance, and again, I've been victim of this, where you've got anxiety over things that could potentially happen in the future. What's the point in worrying over things that could potentially happen in the future? Because all you're essentially doing is worrying about something that hasn't happened. And if it doesn't happen, you're creating stress on yourself
Yeah,
now, and you're ruining the present moment. If it does happen, then deal with that shit then. Deal with that problem then.
Yeah.
You know, don't, and it's hard. It's very difficult because, again, it comes to living in the moment. I think it's only been recently I've really forced myself to do that,
Yeah.
because we cannot change the past. We do not know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
So the past gives us depression because the shit that's happened to us. Yeah. And if you dwell on the past, that's the past. It can never be rewrote. It can never be changed. Yeah. It's done, and it needs to be moved forward. The future creates anxiety and panic and worry. And, a lot of people suffer with it, even though they might not be outspoken. I'll hold my hand up. I've suffered with depression and anxiety both in the past at different times. And when you get down to the root cause, you've got to think to yourself, why am I doing that? And you can use every excuse in the world, or worry about the kids, or worry about this, or worry about the future. Just deal with it then. It's life. We've all got something laid out on this path for us. For me now, I think to myself, just take one day at a time. Wake up. If I wake up, thank God. Yeah. I'm awake. Let's do the best I can. Let's do the most ethical thing. Let's try my best today to be the best person I can, and then get through the day and live in the moment with the family, friends, and try your best.
Exactly. And I think in addition to that, living in the moment, also going back to like anxiety and putting pressure on yourself. I think a lot of people don't adopt like a warrior mindset, or because they're too worried of what other people think.
Yeah.
Instead of just following the dreams or the passions or the goals and just going for it, they've got people around them that hold them back.
Yeah. But it goes back again to what we've discussed and seeing, you obviously had your parents move to the Middle East. And what a great thing. But so talking about on the first one, when I was talking about seeing my father break the mold from being working class, and then he was flying around in Lear jets and helicopters in the 1990s with the bands he was managing. Seeing that as a teenager, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
it can be done. You came to the Middle East with your mum and dad,
Well, I never came. I was still in college, I think, at the
but
time.
they were here and you were coming over.
Yeah, so that I was 17, going on 18, when they moved over. So it was backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And I think even that, I think through in the early years, um, it was tough, but it also molded me into the person I was.
Yeah.
To like, they were always there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They were always supportive, but the physical presence wasn't.
But why did they do it? They done it to try and create a better life for everyone in the family.
Exactly.
And there was an opportunity for them. And we know that at that point in time, in the 90s, 2000s, there wasn't a huge amount of opportunity in our city. No. And I love our city. I love our city. I'm a Scouser through and through, so are you. I love our people, and I'm loyal. But, let's be real. At that point, there was not a lot of opportunities.
There wasn't. It depended on what the person you were, or whether did have education, or whether you were going on apprenticeships. They were becoming almost non-existent. And I applied for apprenticeship, and it was like there was hundreds of people applied for 2 jobs. It was like near enough impossible to get an apprenticeship back then. And I know they've started introducing them now, and there's a lot better schemes for people to start that, because the trade, the building trade and everything else, it's a dying trade.
Yeah.
And they realise just how much they need it back. So there has been a heavy focus, I think, towards that. I hope there is anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was younger, there wasn't much. I think that was why I did ultimately work myself. Don't get me wrong, I was in and out of jobs to save money. I was working in bars, I was working as a waiter, I was doing all different things. But when I'd done my plumbing and courses and everything else, that's when I thought, I'm going to open my own bathroom.
Yeah.
I'd never owned a business.
Yeah.
No one taught me in school how to own a business, or how to operate, or how to, keep records of financial in and out and everything else.
But this is what, as I say, this is what is so frustrating. Why, why do they teach you algebra, but they don't teach you how to, organise your tax, or actually set up a business and have entrepreneurial classes in there? Why they don't do that? I'm not saying they won't do it over here with the kids as they get older, but growing up for me, it was like, the careers teacher, what were you going to be? I remember saying to him at 12, I was going to be a fighter pilot. And he was like, okay. I was like, okay, no one put me on a path to be a fighter pilot. I was in like the cadets for a bit. But couldn't he actually sit down with me and say, okay, to be a fighter pilot, you need X, Y, and Z?
Did you watch Top Gun?
Yeah, I don't watch Top Gun or something like that. But, it wasn't realistic, because I think everyone just expected you to fall into a trade, where we were from. Okay, so what are you going to be? It was, are you going to be a plumber, electrician, a bricklayer, is that what you're going to be? Or, it was, and they were great trades to have. That's what uncles and, everyone, fathers, everyone, that's where we're from. But, there wasn't much other options that were given to you. But then going back and seeing my dad do it, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't. I don't know where I'd be, but I wouldn't be here, I don't believe. Anyway, I think that changed the course of my life.
I think the same for me. I think if my parents didn't, that's why I don't regret a single any aspect of my growing up or the person I become. Again, going what you just said, I wouldn't be here. I don't think, if my parents didn't move here and set that path, or give you that insight from Liverpool to think the world's a bigger place.
The world's a bigger place outside and you don't need a passport to get to Birkenhead. You know what I mean? The one-eyed city. Yeah, that's it. That we'll do a whole podcast on the
Birkenhead.
Whittle, yeah. And you know, you've got. I think I've known a few good people over there. They've got a slight limp and stuff like that, but they're nice people. Uh, any Scousers will know what we're talking about. Chapter 14: Lead the life few dare to imagine. Yeah. Now, I'm not here today to talk about, you know, boasts around about our life and whatever, but in reality, the life that I've achieved, and obviously Brian and where we live, and the life that we've moulded for ourselves is something that was only a dream when we were growing up. You know, every single day I pinch myself, and I have these moments driving in the car or with the driver, or, you know, when I'm sitting there of an afternoon and I've got one of the staff bring me a cup of tea. It's like, this is a reality, and this is something that I could only have dreamed of growing up. In fact, I don't even think in my wildest dreams I would have dared to even believe that my life would get to this point. And I think it is about manifestation, manifesting your life and believing it's going to happen, and then setting new goals each and every single year to build on your life that you've already got, and understanding that you're worth it, and you deserve the best life possible. What's your interpretation of that, Bri?
Well, I think this chapter is about giving yourself the permission to break that mold.
Yeah.
You know, you can. A lot of people are drawn back by the creativity, or they're not drawn back. They're not given the opportunity to be creative, and it doesn't mean like we have to reinvent the wheel. It already exists, but follow your dreams, follow your mindset, allow yourself to take these chances, to take these risks and move forward.
Yeah.
You know, you've just mentioned there about where we are in our life, and you could never have dreamed of being here, but I think subconsciously you did. You've manifested this throughout your life.
I think I've manifested it gradually. I couldn't have imagined 20 years ago envisage I feel like I'm in Downton Abbey, like the modern version of my life at the moment, to a degree. And I think 20 years ago, there's no way I'd ever even have the ability to dream that up. But I think every single year, your goals get bigger and bigger. And if you manifest yourself another level up each and every year, each and every 5 years.
Yeah, I think, again, following your dreams and daring to imagine. I think if your dreams make total sense to everyone else, then you're playing it safe.
Yeah.
You're not putting enough into, because I know some of the things I've thought of, the things I want to do, and like, could be me mum, could be me dad to go, but they've never stopped me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They've never held me back. No one's ever held me back, and it's not always the safe option is the right decision, but you've got to try it. You've got to.
But look, the thing is, success is the other side of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a reality. No one ever becomes successful or achieve their dreams in their comfort zone. And you're blessed, and I'm blessed to have a supportive family around us that are willing to let us run with these ideas and, you know, accept, because they understand that we're resilient, they understand that we're strong, and we understand that we'll bounce back through failure, and failure happens. But sometimes I find myself in my comfort zone, and it makes me uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's no reason to add to the stress of my life, even though the new company is not a stress, it's actually an enjoyment and a passion. There was no real reason to add further workload in my life or your life.
Exactly.
But we're pushing ourselves again, even with these podcasts. You know, we're doing them religiously, these podcasts, we're pushing forward. We're pushing ourselves to the limit every day. We're communicating 24/7 with new ideas. We're managing our companies.
Well, that's it. And it's doing things which I know for me personally, this is way out of my comfort zone.
But look at you doing brilliant.
But I'm not going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop doing it because I'm setting myself goals. I'm setting myself targets. I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about it. I mightn't deliver the right message, and I mightn't get me points across the right way, but I'm here. And I'm putting myself out there.
And I think it's brilliant.
And I think a lot of people will judge you on that. A lot of people, and I think going back to what I said about the last chapter, about the warrior spirit, I think two people are afraid of how they're looked upon or how they're going to be judged. And we've got to remove that from ourselves because, we've got to give ourselves credit. We're having a go.
Do you know, the thing is, Bri, you know yourself, there's going to be a lot of people that we know that are looking at our podcast and all that. And there'd be people there going, who do they think they are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Talking shit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But they're the people that I'd love to have the, the warrior spirit, the warrior attitude, to do something and break out of their unhappiness. Yeah. You're always going to get like the evil eye on no matter what you do. And some of these people might even be closer than what we think. But, I'm not being horrible, but fuck them. For me, it's about helping people. If there's people that are negative behind the scenes or whatever, that does not bother me. We've got thick skin, we're resilient, and we're doing this for ourselves, our family, and other people.
Exactly. And I think we didn't start this to be understood by everyone, did we? We started it to inspire the people who want to be inspired.
Look, the thing is, Brian, if we'd done everything that made everyone happy, we wouldn't get anywhere. And one thing I've realised in life is that, if you're busy pleasing everyone else, you're not, how are you going to ever be successful? Yeah. Look, I think today's been a good overview. I'm looking forward to the next episode today. We've spoke from the heart once again. It's been raw, and that's what we need to keep it. We need to keep it real.
And I think that moving forward as well, and as I say, it's going to be a lot more personal. We're going to start opening up a little bit more, as well as applying, some examples of our lives in more detail about the chapters and each chapter individually. But yeah, I feel good. I think it's going to do well.
Brilliant. Guys, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you like. Keep your notifications on. The more support you give, the more excitement it gives me and Brian to carry on with these podcasts. Take care, guys.